Steve here with Table Rock Tea Company. I'm here this morning with Carl Childers. He is a professor emeritus at the University of Florida, and he has been helping the U.S. tea industry by going through and checking for different types of mites. I'm going to let him explain a little bit more what he does and why that's important.
Well, I'll start from my beginning working with tea, which was in the late 1990s. I spent time over in the Charleston, South Carolina area looking for predaceous mites, predatory mites that feed on pest mite species, in this case on tea. There is a similar complex of mites on tea internationally that are in the same general family as what we have on citrus.
So what do you think you'll find here, and kind of why is that important to the U.S. tea growing industry?
One of the problems that I see is we know nothing about the pest complex of mites on tea. And if you look internationally, mites are a serious problem in most countries around the world where tea is grown. So even though the industry is in its fledgling stages at the moment, I think that having an understanding of these mites, both the pest mite complex and the potential beneficials, are going to be advantageous for the industry.
Basically what Carl and some other scientists are doing are trying to collect data throughout the country for us small-scale U.S. tea growers, because tea is an emerging industry here in the United States. So the more we know about the potential insects and mites that might affect that crop, the better off we'll be to kind of head that off at the pass before it happens. So we appreciate guys like him coming out and doing his research here.
We're looking here to check the leaves to see what mites you may have present on these young plants.
Okay. So when you cut them, is that what's that falling into? Is that alcohol? Is that
That's
water?
80% ethyl alcohol.
Okay.
It fries mites on the spot. They will immediately disengage from the plant. What I normally do in a larger operation is to go in and take 50 leaf samples from the outer canopy and 50 leaf samples from the inner canopy, because there's actually differences in where the distribution of many of these mites are. And also on the very young flush, you'll find different species of mites versus on the older leaves.
So what's the most surprising thing you've seen so far as U.S. tea goes?
I think the biggest surprise that I've seen is the number of potential pest mite species that I've found already. It exceeds citrus.
As far as our industry goes, what would you say would be the most detrimental mite that at least has the potential of harming the plant?
I don't know right at this point. Broad mites certainly can cause you a lot of grief with seedlings in nursery operations.
So you had said that growing from seed produces less mites. Why is that?
Well, you're not bringing in anything. Where you're moving plants from location A to location B, you're also moving all of the arthropods that are associated with them.
So exactly how does a mite work as far as damage to the tea?
Well, depending on the species, they have stylets, and depending on the species, they'll feed on the cells of leaves. Spider mites, Brevopalpus or false spider mites, are good examples where they will evacuate the cellular contents in the palisade and mesophyll layers of the plant. Then you have species like the broad mite. They actually have a toxic saliva that causes malformations in the plant.
Okay.
So those are just examples. Well, I'm trying to find mites in this sample, and they're essentially non-existent. So,
well, I guess that's pretty good news for us. But even though they're not present this year, that might not be the case next year. Get it? Too much? Thanks again for watching. Stay tuned to see what else is brewing here at Table Rock Tea Company.